All right, welcome to Des Moines Capitals Hockey as we are live here. Rob Pauls, Tony Scott, bringing you some hockey talk tonight with linesman referee Sam Rankin. Welcome to the broadcast, Sam Rankin.
Thank you, Tony Scott. How are you?
I am great. We're going to try to get you into the frame here a little bit more. Hey, that brings you in a little bit more. Well, are you surviving the coronavirus shutdown? No live sports, no live anything. Are you surviving?
I am surviving. We're thriving. We've actually been it's about as busy as we've ever been with the landscape business. So things are going well, picking up right from where hockey left off earlier.
Okay, Sam, we'll give you a little bit of background on you. You started playing hockey in Des Moines here with the rest of probably everybody else here in Des Moines. Played house league hockey, and then you played 2 years, your sophomore, junior year with the Des Moines Capitals. And then after that, you went ahead and played 2 years with the Colorado Thunderbirds, and you played with a few other teams after playing for Colorado Thunderbirds, graduating from Iowa State in just about 2 years. And then recently, you've started your own lawn care service and landscaping business. What made you transition into officiating, and tell us what drove you to the switch over to officiating and going from player to officiating hockey?
Yeah, I had a couple of concussions that ended up just kind of letting me know that it was my time to be done playing, and made the transition going to Iowa State. And then I reached out to actually a fellow official in the area, Nick Meyer, and asked him, funny Facebook conversation, asked him if he remembered me, and he said, "Oh boy, how could I forget?" But he got me involved. Started out with my first season, worked about half the season, and then started with some high school here at Air College, got me involved with some high school, and things just kind of took off from there. I wanted to stay a part of the game, so that was the biggest thing, that I could be part of the game. Even though it was on the third team on the ice, I still get the opportunity to be on the ice. So,
how many years have you been doing it, Sam, since you played your last game of hockey?
Yeah, so I think I ended my playing days in December of 15. So I started officiating January of 2016 with my first couple of games.
What league did you start out in? And did you start doing games at the Bucks, like maybe house league games or travel games, or what league did you work? You start out and then have to work your way up.
Yeah, I started. I think it was a Sport A or Sport B game. First game, and I got to my first the blue line for my first offside call, and I'd seen it play a million times from a defenseman perspective, and I could tell when they were offside from there, but then seeing it from the side of the ice and right down the line was a totally different story. So I started with a handful of sport games, and then just worked my way up, and slowly but surely got into some different leagues.
Well, you got a handful of different leagues here.
The big bio here.
Yeah, big bio here.
The amount of leagues you have a line in so far.
Yeah, we got down here anywhere American Hockey League, East Coast Hockey League, Southern Professional Hockey League, the the NAHL, the USHL, NA3HL, the league that Iowa State's in up there, the ACHL, and of course the league the Des Moines Capitals are in, the Midwest High School League. Working in all those different leagues, I know working just doing the Capitals, the Midwest High School League, and the Bucks, Sometimes I get the rules mixed up, as the rules are different in each league just a little bit. The basics are pretty much the same, but when it goes to overtime, or this year in the USHL, coincidental minor penalties, you'll skate 4-on-4. They don't do that in Midwest High School League. I wish they did, but how do you keep the rule book straight in your head as you're doing different leagues out there?
You don't. Nah, I mean,
That's an honest answer.
It gets easier the more you do it. A lot of these games, we're driving together, maybe only halfway as a crew. Like we're meeting for a game in Tri-City, we'll meet in Omaha and drive the rest of the way as a crew. And a lot of times, I mean, it's just guys being guys, BS, and having a lot of fun in the car and just enjoying the presence, because we don't get to see each other all that often, even though some of our best friends are living 2 hours away, just never work with them. But it's a lot of reviewing right before the game, making sure we're covering the simple stuff, and even asking the simple questions on like where a high stick and a hand pass implementation goes. There's quite a few little nuances that differ between leagues, whether it's different rule interpretations in like the ECHL and the American Hockey League, or overtime procedures, which you hate to say that word in the locker room before the game because it occurs, but just making sure we're up to date and making sure that everybody's on the same page, so we're all cohesive and earning that credibility with our real knowledge. But yeah, it's not easy at all.
So
we're
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's just it's a lot to digest. There's several of the leagues that have rules tests throughout the season, so we're taking those weekly or bi-weekly and forced to stay up on them, because you fail too many of those, and they're not too happy with that. So we try to make sure we're knowing our rules.
Is there any rules? I know for myself, working the Bucks games, the USHL games, I'd like to see some rules passed over to the high school league. One of them is on the icing calls, not letting your players change up that ice the puck, and I certainly do like coincidental penalties, skating 4-on-4 out there. I think the game makes the game a lot more exciting. Do you think any of those rules, even HL down all the way down to the Midwest High School League, is there any rules in there you think could eventually make it down to the lower levels of hockey, or do you think it's pretty much good where it's at, or on a linesman and referee? What do you feel on that?
Yes and no. The biggest thing is high school hockey is still part of youth hockey. In the under, roughly, some kids are turning 19 before January 1st the following year, but for the most part, it's considered youth hockey. So for the youth hockey rule book, everything is pretty similar with the exception of what they're hitting. And I think mites and maybe squirts can ice or cannot ice the puck during the penalty. But one of the rules you hit on was no change during icing. There's some teams that do that in the high school league that I would like to see that rule go away, just because taking a face-off in your defensive zone with fresh guys it's a significant advantage. So, in terms of rules that at upper levels that I really would like to see in the high school league, I don't. None of them really stick out to me. I think they've been in place a lot of them for several years, so I think they know what they're doing, and I'm not really in a place that I have any reason to change stuff. It seems like the game feel pretty well if they are.
So just we got a few viewers out there, and just encourage them if they have a question, to send us a question for you, Sam, and and we talk about this, with every now and then in a game you see the ref and the linesman get together and to make sure the referee's talking to you guys on linesmen about if there was a penalty, maybe not a 2-minute penalty, but maybe more a question of major, I guess talk a little bit about that interaction that a linesman has with a referee for our viewers out there.
Yeah, definitely. As a linesman, we obviously have a different perspective. And in a three-man or four-man system, so the one referee and two linesmen, or two referees and two linesmen. In a one referee game, at some of these levels, it is so fast that when I'm doing high school JV with Colin Brecker on the lines, he's up there helping me out. It's crazy that some of these guys are even capable of skate three man at like the ECHL level, which is all three man. And we've got some really talented referees, but it's just impossible to have eyes in the back of their head and seeing everything all the time. So it's that interaction we come together is really quickly. What did you see? And then it's up to the referee to make the determination on penalty. We had a couple seasons ago, we had a conference call, and it was talking about making sure we come in and explain what we saw happen in some judge penalties. So we're always coming in and saying, "Hey, I've got it straight to the head. I've got the elbow straight to the cage or straight to the head." And from there, if the referee didn't see it or didn't see it well enough to make the call, he might be asking for more information on, is it 5-game league? And from the standpoint that I put it, I want to be able to bet my career on that is the right call, and did that in the game this season, and it ended up being the right call that the other three guys were watching where part of the play was going on, which was where things were supposed to be heading, and I just luckily caught it out of the corner of my eye, but it really helped the game, and we talked it over, and they thankfully trusted me, even though I was the youngest guy in the group by way too much and the least experience. But it's one of those things where at the end of the day, it is the referee's lead. We're there to support him. We're all a team, but it is his call, and ultimately his standard to keep. So we're just there to provide information for him and help them to make the best, the most excellent call.
So there's probably, in your line of work, with anything, even with teams, same with referees, a certain amount of chemistry that you have with a group. If you worked with a group a lot and building, I guess, as a young guy doing this, building that trust amongst the guys you're working with,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are several guys throughout the season, like in the USHL, there's a core staff that pretty much day in, day out are the ones working every weekend. And when you work with those guys, you build your rapport over time. It's the same when you build rapport with coaches and with teams. The more you show that you're there and you're going to do a good job, that you can prove that rapport to the referees. And also the referee prove it to you, and being a good unit is huge, because if there's guys out there that are really, really talented, and there's nothing better than getting to see their name pop up on your schedule and you get a new schedule confirmation that the first thing you do, it's probably 2 a.m. and you're in the middle of Nebraska or North Dakota, and you're sitting in the passenger seat, and you're just excited to see that in 6 weeks you're getting to go work with this guy in Muskegon. So it's fun to get to work with a lot of really, really, really talented guys.
Sam, we got a question in here from Justin Umpton. He played for the Capitals years ago, and he's got a question for you. When the season's going full speed ahead and busy week for you, what's a week of hockey look like for you in the middle of the season? When all these leagues are playing, and I know you do a lot of different leagues. You do the USHL and the Iowa State League and high school, and I know you travel quite a bit. What's your typical week work look like for you? You have probably have a little bit more free time, not mowing yards and working on your business here at home. But so what's your typical week look like?
Yeah, I wish there was a such thing as a typical week in this line of work. There's really not. I would say a majority of the time, 3 games is a pretty standard week this year. A lot of weeks I was doing 4, and I had a couple of swings of like 7 games in 9 days. I think I had a 12 and 13 stint where I was on the road everywhere. But like one of the weeks this year was Tuesday night in Des Moines. Wednesday night in Rapid City, South Dakota, which was about 9.5 hours. And so that was a fun overnight drive. And then that was Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. I had Sunday off, and then Monday drove all the way home, and then Tuesday right back to Falls. So there really is no typical week, but a safe bet is every month we're spending somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 miles in a car. It's a lot of windshield time, but yeah, it's we don't even work with the same guys back-to-back nights a lot of times, so it's a lot of driving by yourself. You really gotta love the game and love the job because the travel is grueling. So I don't know if I really answered Justin's question, but there's you're working this year. I work usually 2 weeks a weekend across 4+ games. So
Sam, kind of tell us. I don't know about the rest of the leagues, but I know USHL has some housing here. I think it used to be out in Norwalk. I thought they had one in Chicago and Omaha. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but kind of explain the housing. There's a bunch of USHL guys that are young like you, and they travel a lot, but they got some halfway points here. I know talking to some of these guys, they'll always ask me after a game where's the hot spots here in Des Moines are to go out to, because they might be staying at the house wherever that is here in Des Moines, and kind of explain that to people out there listening, what that halfway house is. Not halfway house, but housing for these guys, and they go from Chicago to Des Moines to Omaha.
Yeah, so right now there's just the 3 that you mentioned. Last year there was the South Bend apartment as well, which was pretty much to service that Youngstown location. But this year they got rid of it. So there's 3 houses. Chicago, there are 6 guys. Des Moines, there's 2 townhomes. In Norwalk, and then in Omaha, there's a house with 4 guys. And so this season, for example, in Des Moines, there was some guys I got really close to. Dykstra was from Florida. Rule was from Virginia. You had a Michigan guy in Quinn. You had a New Yorker, a New Jersey guy, and you had a guy from California. So there were 6 guys who were from nowhere around here. And the USHL subsidizes housing for them to come in and live for the season, and to basically provide housing. And it also doubles as more or less a hotel. So every weekend, for the most part, except for it seems like Dykstra, he worked in Des Moines, I think, every weekend. He's, I think, watching it. If not, he'll watch this later and give me more time. But he worked every weekend. And so he was a little different. But a lot of the guys, like I know Logan Rule was gone all the time. He had worked, I think, 90 games up to this one season. And he was always gone, so his room essentially became a hotel room. And so you guys, and this is at all departments in the North American League and in the USHL, come in, spend the night, wash the sheets, and you're on the road. So it becomes a halfway house for, like you said, for the guys working in Des Moines, here after Waterloo, Dubuque, even Sioux City, Omaha. Everybody's kind of coming to Des Moines or Omaha on their way to transition to the next place, just to keep down on hotel costs and whatnot. So it's the central point to meet, and that way you drop your car and carpool. So yeah, it ends up being pretty fun. Sundays can get a little rowdy. Guys like to go hang out with Palm Trees, which is one of the places we visit all the time that gets some good stories going. So.
Well, Sam, I get asked a question a lot for the Capitals after some player might get a boarding call, a 2 and a 10, might get suspended for a hit here and there. My parents usually do not agree with it most of the time. And what are you guys looking for on a boarding, whether you call a 2 and a 10, a 5 and a game, or what are you guys looking even for a check behind? I'd really like to. I don't really have an answer for the parents when they come up to it. Besides, I mean, you're not going to change the call on your son or your daughter, whoever's playing. That you're going to get that erased. But everybody always wants me to go out back and look at the video and submit it to the league, and I rarely ever do that. But what is the refs looking out there on a 2 and a 10 based on, or a 5 in a game, or just a 5 and a 10? I'm not sure which league it is, but one of them carries a more major penalty than the other. But what are you guys looking for out there?
There's a lot that goes into every scenario. I don't envy referees in this position because there is such a fine line between a 2-10 and 5-game lot of times. There are certain rules in the youth hockey rule book that your hands are tied, like a check from behind into the goal frame is supposed to be an automatic 5 and game. So at a lot of the times, our hands are pretty much tied. If an injury results from a check from behind by the rule book, it is supposed to be by rule. So there's several things that our hands are pretty much tied, and more or less you're trying to be an artist out there, not a scientist, because if you call the game like a scientist from the rule book, nobody would have any fun. Yes. And nobody would watch any hockey games, and it would be really boring. So kind of the biggest thing you're looking for going into when you see a hard collision is, one, did he leave his feet? Was it from behind, violently into the boards, or to the head? So those are the charging checks behind, boarding, and the other biggest thing you're looking for is severity. And was it a hockey play? Was it just a hockey play gone bad that he went to hit and the guy turned, and it's unfortunate, which still could very well be a 5-man game. But if it's just a hockey play that ends up awkward, you have a better chance of getting the benefit of the doubt than if you're just going to steamroll somebody. You're not looking to play the puck while you're looking at these ones you got. There's every time it can be called. There's no right or wrong way. I mean, obviously there's times that we get upset to us and hey, why'd you call this? But at the end of the day, I mean, we're making the call with our best available information on the ice. We don't care who wins. Quite frankly, I don't even know usually who the other team is at an arena until they step on the ice for warm-ups. It's one of those things that we're doing our research in the locker room, but making sure we know who our guys who are going to start fights and whatnot. But in terms of penalties, we're trying to look out for safety. We're just trying to look out for the integrity of the game. So there's not really a great answer for that one, but you're trying to make sure that kind of the spirit and the intention of the game stays true.
Do you know most of the time no one agrees with you on that? On the calls?
Yep. Oh,
that's going to lead up to Rob and I's next question here.
So Sam, obviously when there's not agreement, you get you hear a lot of chirping from fans and parents yelling at you, and do you wish you could just take off your skates and let that fan or parent take over for you sometimes, and go get some popcorn and pop and watch the game while somebody else does that?
Yeah,
is that just part of the game?
Honestly, sorry, what's that?
Or is that just part of the deal when you're refereeing?
Yeah, honestly, absolutely not. Because I know darn well that I'm by no means the best official in the world. I know that you don't have to tell me twice, but I would like to think that 9 times out of 10 we're doing a dang good job. And it does come to the territory. Like you go to Lincoln or even in the Wing Bucks, you step on the ice for the first trip around the ice. Nobody's been on the ice besides for warm-ups, and you're already getting good.
Yes.
They're Lincoln and Des Moines by far are, I don't know if you call them the best or the worst, but they love giving the refs a hard time. And it comes with the territory, and quite frankly, when the fans boo us, like we're just skating around for a hot lap, I just start giggling. I mean, there's nothing I can do but chuckle a little bit. And, there's a lot of times that I really would like to tell them, hey, the sport is hurting for officials, so if you would like to try it, by all means, they will take you. Because being an official is a dying breed, and honestly, a lot of it is probably stemming from abusive actions towards officials. So it's one of those things that I would not want them to take my job. And quite frankly, I don't really like watching hockey. I don't watch any hockey on TV anymore. I maybe caught half of the Minnesota Wild game that my dad was yelling at the TV about. But other than that, I don't really care to watch sport. I like to be at it and work the games, but I don't really want to watch, and I don't want to watch the ref.
Along with that, Sam, how do you when things are getting heated, whether it's from coaches or fans or just in the moment of how do you as a referee keep your emotions in check, and really zone in on your job then?
Definitely. I mean, there's a little bit different dynamic from being a referee and a linesman. And as a linesman, my job is to basically be a rodeo clown. Keep the heat off the referee, deflect, take abuse, and it doesn't honestly bother me. There's some coaches that are very animated and like to let you know that maybe you're not their favorite person, and that's fine. And quite frankly, I don't care if you don't like me. We just need to have a good working relationship for the next 60 minutes of ice time, and we can go our separate ways. So the biggest thing is just having some social intelligence and being able to kind of sense when the body language is being receptive to the conversation, or if it's something where you just need to stay away, or how to handle a situation. And the best thing, I don't even remember where I heard this, but always talking in a very slow, controlled voice is something that I've done with a lot of coaches and helps bring them down to your level. So we had, for example, one conversation this year with a coach. He was getting pretty animated and yelling, and it wasn't yelling in a sense that he's mad, but that's just his personality. And so I tried, and I told him, we'll have a conversation, but we're not going to yell and scream. And he got a little bit excited, and I just told him very politely, hey, let's talk. Let's communicate here. Let's not just scream, because that's not going to get us anywhere besides frustration. So being able to communicate well with coaches goes a really, really long way. And also, if I hate doing it, and everybody does, but we're not perfect as officials, and you're the first one to admit it. And if you do make a mistake, just going up and saying, I'm sorry, I messed up.
Yes.
I might have done it once or twice this year, and both times the coach looked at me and just said, hey, it's fine, and really respected the fact that you were willing to be a man and admit that you did something wrong and fess up to it. And the same thing happened actually from the coach I said that to. He was arguing with a call later in the season, and he said, I watched the tape between periods, you were right. And it's one of those rapport building things that hopefully you can keep things from getting heated if you have that relationship with them and know they can talk back and forth with you.
Well, I think you bring up a good point there, Sam. If you're staying calm and talking calm in a voice, and pretty soon the person that's yelling realizes they're the only one that's yelling, and usually calms them down a little bit. So good point.
Sam, I know, working the Bucks games, and I remember this. I don't know who the ref was, but he was first time ever to Bucks Arena, and I think in the first period, this has been a few years ago, had a line brawl, and we always write down off ice official. We write down who comes to the box and who gets kicked out, and blah blah blah. And he was so wound up and didn't have his numbers right, and thank God we had our numbers wrote down on our pad, because he was really confused, and it was loud in there, and I looked right at him. I said, hey, just take a deep breath here, calm down. I said, we got your back here. I said, don't worry how long this takes. I said, let's just get it right the first time, and let's just go back through the numbers again. And I started going off numbers, and we always go by light and dark. We don't go by team names, and he really appreciated that. And after the game and giving him the score sheets, he says, man, you guys are on top of your games. We don't have too many arenas that keep track of the players going off and on. But over the years, I've learned that the referee, they can't see everything out there. Linesmen can't see
Yeah.
everything, and sometimes they need an extra set of eyes when shit hits the fan on the
Yeah.
ice. So
As an off ice, or I guess as an on ice crew, having an off ice crew that has your back like that is, I mean, incredible. Because in a line brawl, or even if you've got 2 or 3 pairs squaring off, just to have somebody to write down numbers. Because if you're under 2 in a period, they're going right off the ice most likely. You kind of know as a linesman, all right, they're probably going to get more than those 2s, taken right off the ice. And it's huge that, I mean, we always try to remember the numbers, but everything's happening so fast out there that you're trying to get him out the door and the door shut behind him so you can get back there and get to that next pair. And so having somebody to take care of you like that, you know, we're technically all a team. We're all officials.
Yes.
Some of us have skates on, some of us have boots on and are sitting by a space heater, but we're all doing a job to keep the game running.
Yeah, I'm always amazed when you watch the higher tier level, whether it's icing, whether it's a penalty that's been delayed for 30 seconds, that you guys can even remember what person committed that penalty or who was on the ice when the icing happened, and so it's incredible that you guys can remember all that.
Yeah, that one is a lot of repetition. So as soon as like for too many men or for an icing, you are basically repeating those 5 numbers in your head as many times as you can. And when the coach goes, well, who is it? Or tries to stall or throws you off, all you're doing is repeating those 5 numbers and say it's 14, 22, 8, 6, and 4. Like, you're just repeating those until finally he gives up and it's like, all right, I guess you got it. So, and then the other one with helping a referee out as he's skating by, you as a linesman, you usually already know who it is. But if it's not, he's 11 trips, he's like, yep, as he's skating by down to the other end. So we're making sure, you know, at least 2 people have that, and if the third guy didn't see it, then he's at least hearing it, so we all know exactly where to go as soon as that whistle blows.
Sam, what was I'm reading a question here on Facebook. I think a lot in the Midwest High School League, parents, fans think the penalty is maybe more severe if the player lays on the ice a little bit more and acts like they're more injured than what they are. Is that a factor in your penalties out there? Or, I mean, we see a lot of kids, something might happen to them, the team gets a 5-minute major or something severe, but that kid's laying on the ice, and then next thing you know, he's 30 seconds later back out on the power play. Is that something that I get asked that a lot, and I just got asked on Facebook here? Is that something that is even in your guys' eyes, or is it a factor in the penalty, I guess?
Yeah, it absolutely is. You know, we've got to determine if the player is injured, and I'm a finance guy who owns a lawn care business and wears a striped shirt and refs hockey. I'm not a doctor.
Yes.
None of us are.
That's a good point right there.
And you know, it's we get asked all the time by coach, well, he's not hurt. It's like, well, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. He looks hurt to me. I mean, you can't skate. And you know, sometimes it's unfortunate that as soon as you assess the penalty, the guy's right back on the ice, and you're like, you know what, he got me. We have to make our best judgment if the guy's laying on the ice, is he hurt or injured or not. And a lot of times at higher levels, guys don't want to be seen laying on the ice because they know they'll get made fun of if they aren't actually that hurt. But it's, you know, we're using, like I said, all available information to make the best call we can. And on occasion, you know, that does play a factor. If he appears seriously injured, then you know, it's going to be a more severe call just because the rule book clearly lines out that an injury constitutes a more significant penalty. So I know it is something, as officials, we have no impact on suspensions, but that is something we get asked is, did this player return to the game? Because that, I would imagine, plays some impact on suspensions. Again, I have no idea, but it is a question we get asked on occasion. So I would venture to guess that might play a little bit of a role.
Sam, speaking of injuries, Have you ever had any injuries while refereeing?
I've had. If any of you guys are listening to this, I'll get a hard time for this. I took last year. I took a puck. I think so. A goal was scored off the opening face-off. A guy who actually I saw him this season gave him a hard time for it, but thankfully I blocked my teeth from the puck, but it caught me square in the wrist, and we were actually out in Pittsburgh, and so the Pittsburgh Penguins team doctor got me X-rays and everything, but immediately when I got off the ice, they told me, "Oh, your wrist is shattered." I'm like, "Oh, great." And after some X-rays, it turned out that wasn't the case. But I was sitting there, and they wrapped that sucker up all around my chest and everything. And I was holding it up here, and it was a nightmare. It ended up not being broken, but it was did not feel good. The other one was this year. I partially tore my MCL off the face-off, which then made that both knees had some MCL work done, but. Didn't miss any time, just had it taped up and braced up, which helped. But we're always thankful when guys keep pucks low on dumpings, because it is pretty scary. We don't have the pads that all the players have. It's I'm not. I love when people tell me to get up right, because believe me, there is nothing I want to do less than get hit by a hockey puck.
Yes, nobody does. Nobody does.
No,
And just how you guys seem to dance that dance when you drop the puck and all that action's happening around you, and you're able just to find a safe way out of there. So comes with probably a lot of training, I'm sure, and a lot of experience.
And the biggest thing is a lot of patience, actually. Patience will save you a lot of the time. So it's something you learn with time, because I know I've gotten dumped falling out of face-off before and had to buy around the sodas for the guys, but you don't do that too many times, because otherwise your wallet will light.
Hey, Sam, you probably know this as being a player, and I always think of our freshman players coming up, and by the time you get to senior or you play that varsity level, probably jumping in there as a freshman as a capital, the game's really, really fast compared to what you came from, whether it was Bantams or whatever league you came from. But doing all these different leagues, the speed of the game, it has to make a difference in you out there working as a linesman or referee. Is it just like a player as jumping up from JV up to varsity level that, holy crap, this is a fast game, or vice versa, jumping down from varsity down to playing a JV game? Is it a lot different for you on the ice as a linesman or referee?
The biggest jump would definitely be going down. You notice it to be significantly slower. And the biggest thing you notice is to be significantly under less control. I don't ever venture to guess that some guys in the Tier 3 juniors have any clue where they're shooting the puck out. Well, they have their heads down, coming in. Same with the high school league. I've been plunked way too many. But as you go up, it's funny though. The USHL is a very run and gun style play, with the exception of like this year, Chicago and Team USA, the 17th and 18th were very controlled. But all the other teams in the USHL play very run and gun style, where they see a guy all the way up the blue line, fire it all the way up there, and it's down to the other end, and just as fast as it's turned over and going the other direction. But you get up into, it starts as soon as I worked with other professional leagues, and going up ECHL, especially the American League, the whole thing is stressed about puck control. And the game is actually significantly slower from a north-south standpoint. The guys are obviously a lot faster, but there's a lot of east-west movement, a lot of passes back and around, where you're not seeing nearly as much run and gun. So it was a big adjustment in the north, going from the NA3 to the North American Hockey League, and then again up to the USHL. And the USHL is one of the fastest that I believe. Referees might have a different perspective, but it's a lot more control and a lot more predictable. So that's where it really helps that you can kind of get hockey IQ. You can really see where the play is developing and how it's going to go with ice. So you know a little bit more about what's going to happen.
Sam, what's the best part about officiating?
Oh, not the miles in the car, that's for sure.
No, I don't think any guys like that.
No, it's definitely working with the guys. I was just looking on Find My Friends today, and guys in California, Florida, everywhere. You get to meet some a lot of fun and a lot of friendship built. And some of my best friends are guys I saw 3 times last year, but the number of hours I spent on the phone with them at 2, 3 in the morning while driving is countless. So definitely getting to work with some of those guys is huge.
Well, Sam, another question here, and I hope you have the right answer for this one. Favorite arena?
Favorite arena? Everybody gives it a hard time. Well, I guess I would say about 50% give it a hard time, but there's nothing like the old Buck hockey.
There's nothing like Bucks hockey.
There's nothing like Buccaneer Arena. That is definitely up our list just because that's where I grew my roots. But in terms of kind of coolest arenas outside of Bucks Arena, Sioux Falls is an absolute blast. They pack the place. And it's basically, I mean, I think it's like 1,000 feet smaller than Wells Fargo. Like it's massive, and they fill the place a lot. The other really cool one is obviously skating in Wells Fargo Arena. I was there this year for the Andy Grammer concert to work that game. And growing up, going to some Iowa Wild games when I was in high school, getting to see that arena from on the ice. I think there was 11,000 there that night. Actually, I got to meet Andy Grammer in the hallway, which is pretty sweet. But there's some cool sheets. But Sioux Falls is a blast. And actually probably Waterloo as well. It's not very big, but it is super loud, and there's always a million cowbells.
Sam, does anything give you the experience as your 2 Turkey Cups you played in?
So the Midwest High School League is not my league. I've never refereed a varsity Turkey Cup. And in my 2 years, I dressed 1 year, but never played a varsity shift in Turkey Cup.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, that was a bad question for me to ask you.
No, all good. I give people a hard time. But my junior year, I sat on the bench for the entire hockey game and played single field.
Who's your coach? Who do we give shit to?
What's that?
Who was your coach? Was it Coach Springer? We're going to give him shit
when,
about that.
That was when I made the transition to forward for a couple of weeks. I scored a goal in my first shift in preseason, thought it was easy, and then realized that wasn't my forte. But no, being just a Turkey Cup, that environment. I went this year, and it was the first year I didn't work it, but it was incredible to see how well receptive that event is. I mean, it's got to be the biggest event in that arena all year long, even more than every single Bucks game. So it's really neat and a great experience for those kids playing.
Sam, I think one of your friends, somebody out there, is asking you, what lawnmower would Sam recommend? I have an Acre, and I'm not sure what else that says, but he wants to know, maybe this is a setup question here, but somebody wants to know what kind of lawnmower he should buy.
I'm watching the Facebook feed coming through and just watching questions on that. But
is there a question? We only see a couple questions. Oh, maybe if I scroll down. Now we got some more questions. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah,
go ahead.
We call Skag mowers. They are really great. We also on mowers for an acre yard though. I don't know. I'd probably get like a Toro Time Cutter or Toro Titan if you're not putting several hours on it every single day.
So we have a question here on Facebook for you, Sam, from a goalie parent. Actually, I know it's a goalie parent. How do you work differently in establishing a rapport with some goalies?
Yes, it is. It is. It's a different animal. You got to know what kind of a goalie you're working with, because there's some goalies who are incredibly outgoing and just want to talk. And for every one of those, you've got another goalie who doesn't want to be talked to. Won't say a word to you. You don't say a word to him, and move on. I mean, especially when a boy makes an unbelievable save, I'll try to say, awesome save, great save, man, looking good. And a lot of times their reply is, well, I do things that only help. And it's, pretty funny that there's some goalies with personalities, but most of the time, especially in a 4-man situation, it seems like the referee is down by the net, chatting it up with the boys a little bit, and just filling that report to tell them, hey, I'll need to shove him out of your crease. If he's in there, I'm going to take care of it. But also kind of tell him, hey, play your position. Let me worry about him. Don't take it on you, because then I can't help you. So it's a lot smaller windows of communication there with goalies. I mean, you talk about briefly between whistles. Whereas with players, you're skating to the bench of the linesman, and you get to talk to them for 5 to 10 seconds as you're skating all the way back to the bench. And being between benches and face-off circles, linesmen are right in the mix, whereas referees are away. So there's definitely different levels of or different ways to report. Linesmen, for the most part, are good guys, because you're trying to be there, kind of not be their buddy, but get on their good side so they work with you. In the scrum, you can yell their name, and they respond like, hey, we're just holding up here. Whereas a referee, just based off their job, has to command a little bit more respect, because their job is very black. They're not very black and white, and it's something where they've got to be well respected and have that rapport with the coaches and the teams to know that, hey, I am in control here. We're going to get through this, and we're going to make the right calls.
Sam, your favorite experience being a linesman, referee, or even playing hockey?
Favorite experience? I guess I go with the low-hanging fruit. This year, I was selected to work the USHL Frosty Cup, which took place, I think, on January 3rd, right after the Winter Classic down in Dallas, Texas, Scottsdale. So we skated 4-man crew flew down there. We skated the game indoors on the 3rd, I think, and then the outdoor game was on the 4th. But you got to skate at the Cotton Bowl outside. Stadium holds, I think, 80,000. We had about 80 screaming fans. So it's a little dead there, but it's quite a bit of fun. And just being able to skate outside and go through the same things that those pro teams did just a couple days before was an incredible experience. It's fun to be a part of it.
I've always thought it would be great to, with the Iowa Wild, the Des Moines Buccaneers, and the Des Moines Oakleys and Des Moines Capitals, to get that Iowa Cubs Stadium down there and make that into a ice arena for a weekend. And I think it'd be awesome, or for a week even, to play an outdoor game down at Iowa Cubs. I think that'd be fun. So
next year's going to Minnesota, so that should be a lot colder, because it was about 60 degrees, and it felt about the same. I mean, I think most arenas are about 60, and obviously the Bucs Arena and Metro are 25 degrees. But at some of the bigger arenas we skated, it was about the same temperature. The only thing different was there was a little bit of a breeze that cooled it off. So next year in Minnesota, they might have a little bit different of an experience.
Yeah.
It's sub-zero out there. That would not be the most fun.
Well, Sam, we're going to wrap up with the final question here, and this is some notes here, and I have no idea what this means, but I just have down here in the notes, Sioux Falls moms and every USHL official favorite. I don't know what the joke is here. I'm not sure what this means, but we're gonna. If you don't want to answer that, don't. But this is just down here for something I was supposed to ask you.
Yeah, this is Sioux Falls moms are a couple of moms that used to bake treats for the teams, and then I think they said 10 years ago now they started baking treats for the officials.
Okay.
So after every single game, the two moms come in, and you're just known as the moms. But Lori and Karen are their names. They come in and my mom makes really good treats, but she admitted that these are really good as well. And they make anything from friendship bread and different flavors of goldfish, they bake, everything. And so you never get food after the game. You never stop for a meal. You just drive the 4 hours and 15 minutes home, and by the time you're home at 3:30, you've already eaten almost all your big snacks, and you are plumb full. And that is one of the best parts about going to falls on those moms.
Well, I'm relieved, Sam. I thought that was a setup question somehow.
I did too. Jenny Young wants to thank all the referees, linesmen, and they really appreciate your jobs you do. Her son umpires little league games, and she just says it's amazing how terrible parents can be sometimes, and she appreciates the kids doing the umpiring and the refereeing in hockey. And follow up with that got another guy on Facebook here. He says he wants to know if you can truly hear the fans yelling at you while you're on the ice, and does it affect your game at all, or I know working the Bucks games afterwards, and sometimes they'll say to me, "Who the hell was that guy in Section 9 screaming at me all night long?" And I know who he is. I'm not going to say his name on here, but do you hear that out there? And I mean, we saw Nick Meyer up in Ames this year. Pretty much told both sides of the stands up there in Ames that either be quiet or the game's going to be over. So, does it affect you guys that much up there or on the ice?
Yeah, can you hear them? Yeah, you absolutely can. And even some of the bigger arenas, if it's quieted down enough, you can hear and understand what they're saying. And it's definitely a different dynamic when you get to like the bigger levels of hockey. That there's nothing you can do, and nothing that I really want to do. I mean, it doesn't bother me. And honestly, if you're making both teams mad, you're probably doing something right. As long as we both have about the same level of mad. Does it affect me? No. It honestly doesn't. I don't care any less. It doesn't. I mean, you hear them as background noise. One of my favorite things is during a game, I think this year there was a face-off, and this guy was just banging on the glass like a dog in a cage. It just went wild. And so I just very gently and lightly tapped my whistle on the glass, and a little metal whistle on a piece of plexiglass is pretty loud. And oh my gosh, did you think I poked him there? He went berserk. It's honestly, it's just entertaining of how fed up people get, and you're just out there doing your best. That's all you're doing. I love the comments. I think we read some tweets sometimes, and the people who think that we're getting paid by certain teams. We don't care. I mean, it makes no difference to us who wins or loses. The game will decide itself. That's all we're out there to do, and make sure we make calls.
Well, there hasn't been. I know the fans out there. They you guys all suck to them from the second you step on the ice till the second you step off the ice. But I know working with and Rob broadcasting here, I know we always try to stay pretty neutral on our broadcast, and sometimes we get wound up a little bit and don't agree with your calls. But we definitely agree with what you guys are doing. You're out there doing a great job, and we really appreciate it. And Rob and I appreciate you coming on here tonight and spending an hour with us and answering some questions from the fans. And we'll see you whenever, hopefully this fall, that we can get live sports back going and some hockey. I certainly hope this doesn't run into our fall sports, but with the way things are going, hard telling.
Yeah, it is. I remember when we all got that phone call. It was kind of a bummer, and then we waited a week. Not even a week. I think we got the call like Wednesday maybe, and then on Monday they pretty much told the apartment guys, "Hey, pack up, go home. Like, we don't think this is going to change anytime soon, and so you got to be out at the end of the month." And it was just like that. The season was over, and abrupt and really unfortunate because a lot of guys were having some really great seasons. Everybody was really peaking at the right time, and it was going to be an awesome run with everybody. So. It stinks that everybody's opportunities to work in the playoffs and get that important experience got cut short, but it's one of those things that there's a lot bigger picture than just hockey. We got to do our part to be.
Yeah, early communications with the Bucks, with my off ice crew. They had told me, I think we had a game coming up and it hadn't been canceled yet. And the original plan was to have that game with no fans in there. And I'm like, gosh dang it. How boring is that going to be with in Buccaneer Arena out there watching two teams skate with no fans? I mean, sometimes I'm not dogging our Capitals at all, but sometimes we don't get a whole lot of fans there on a Sunday morning, and sometimes our games aren't that exciting. So,
Right.
so I couldn't imagine sitting there in a Bucks game against whoever with no fans. So I hope for God and pray to God that we can get things back around to normal and get some in the summertime here, some sprint car racing, some racing going on, some baseball and some other stuff. But anyway, we're going to end it with that. Appreciate you coming on, Sam, and we look forward to seeing you out on the ice again.
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. Look forward to hearing more Little Debbie snack cake power plays.
Yeah, there you go. You got to throw that. I need to start up on our table here. I need to start setting some nutty bars up here or something. So, well, thank you, and enjoy your night. Rest of your evening.
Hey, you too. Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Sam.
See you guys.